All right, so welcome to our session on Take Advantage of Your Tech as a Utility, part of our TIPS team, Community of Practice here in Edmonton Public Schools. We'll wait about another 30 seconds to a minute to see if anyone else manages to find their way in, and we will get started right after that. All right, so we're going to get started now so we can get through our content. As people come in, they can join in and take part or watch the archive at a later time. So again, welcome to Take Advantage of Tech as Utility, another session, part of our um, TIPS team, Edmonton Public Schools Community of Practice. First things first, you probably see the question answer pane on the right-hand side. If you do have a question, just click that green button in the bottom right and we'll get to it as we work through. Otherwise, I'm going to work through this presentation, which is linked on the event page, and you're welcome to review that as time goes on. So the first thing is I just want to welcome you. My name is Will Rice. I'm one of the new members of the TIPS team this year. So I've learned a lot about tech as utility. And if there's one thing I've learned, that there's a lot of misconceptions out there on tech as utility by teachers, by administrators, even here centrally. So I wanted to put this presentation together to help kind of dispel some of those myths and to show us how we can take advantage of tech as utility to its fullest, so that you're really sure of what you have and what you're getting for your monthly installment. So that is what tech as utility is. It is that monthly service fee that your DU or school pays to support the technology in your building, for all the way from photocopiers all the way up to iPads and laptops. This is the fees that are associated with the devices and infrastructure in your school. So something that's new this year is to TAU is something a little bit different. And this is WAS, and this is Wireless as a Service. This is a new choice for TAU, and it moves beyond support and regular maintenance to include some other things, including hardware. So when you go on WAS, your access points, maintenance, evergreening of those wireless access point radios on the ceilings, and authentication services down centrally are no longer your concern outside of the monthly charge. So if 3 years from now your school requires additional new access points to keep up with the coverage you need, that's something that we would take care of. Generally, new access points last 3 years plus, so it totally depends on that. Now, to get onto WAS, you do need to have the infrastructure in place, wiring, switches, the sorts of things that are a school responsibility. It does, though, do a great job of giving you a consistent price for those access points. So in the past, you would have to save up and end up with, it might be $10,000 worth of access points to upgrade. Now you can manage that cost as a monthly line item. There's a question here about TAU is a mandatory service. TAU is it's not a service. It's the mandatory costs associated with district technology. So to have a server on the network, you pay a utility to make sure that it is up to date and in all ways. Same goes with desktops, everything up to and including CFS machines, offline printers, any tech that you're using in your schools generally. Owned by the district has a TAU cost associated with it. So I guess you could say it's mandatory in that we don't generally, otherwise it would be a BYOD device, so if unowned by the district. So technology owned by the district comes with a tech as a utility cost. And that's to ensure that our network is robust and we reduce vulnerabilities and that everything plays nicely together so things aren't just a free-for-all, and that you have the support you need to make sure that your schools and DUs have technology that works really effectively. Thanks for that question. So TAU covers 3 broad areas. When you look in Orbit, there's infrastructure, server, network, wireless. Right now, WAS is our wireless as a service option. To understand that we're looking at server as a service and network as a service, which would move your school server and network hardware like switches and things like that onto a monthly service fee, much like WAS. That's pretty new and emerging, so there's no cost on those yet, but those are something we're looking at doing. Devices, these are the actual things that actually you use. So computers, iPads, Chromebooks, etc. And there's also a section supporting things like smartboards, projectors, and those multimedia devices that aren't really smart and on the network, but still require a tech to ensure that they work well with all of the other parts. One of the big things about WAS that's a plus is the ability to move to the ClearPass authentication system, which would allow things which would then allow iPads and Chromebooks and other devices to stream wireless video to projectors and smartboards much more effectively than we can do right now, which is usually done with a cable plugged directly in. So there are some other advantages to the monthly wireless as a service charges over traditional network costs. So it's also much more than just the half day or day of tech time that you have at your school. It provides you with the support of a lot of people centrally, programmers, network analysts, a portion of all of your tips consultants come from TAU to come out and help planning, and just having the ability to have planning support come out. So an example of this that I went through recently was we were looking at updating the wireless infrastructure in a building. And it wasn't just the school tech. The school tech was there, I was there, one of our network analysts was out who specializes in wireless, going around and ensuring that the plan for that school was sufficient and accurate for not only today, but also for the future. An example of this is noting that, if the wiring needs upgrading, that's something that can be caught as part of the team. Your tech might notice, but there are lots of little things like that that the team brings to the table to identify and support your school. So it's not just that hourly amount of you get with your tech, it's a lot more than that. Where is it? Well, it's a budget line item. It matches the school-based decisions. So based on the type and number of devices you decide to purchase and bring into the school, owned by the school, your budget line item on TAU will change. Your business manager or admin assistant or assistant principal probably sees that bill and has to pay it every month. We will talk at the end a little bit about Orbit and how that number is calculated. But those choices are directly impacted by your school choices. So it's really important that you take advantage of your understanding of tech as a utility when you're purchasing devices, because each of those different devices comes with a different cost. So making those decisions can be, you can make really good decisions and also understand the long-term costs associated with the devices you purchase. So you might wonder, why is it super important? Because at the end of the day, your TAU charge is a pretty small percentage of your total school budget. But that small percentage of your budget is what goes into ensuring that all of the technology in your building works properly. It's a place where you can certainly, you know, some people all save money. And yes, there are some places you can identify those efficiencies. You can do that. We'll talk a little bit later when we go through the Orbit calculation and some other things to know. It's also an important place to understand whether your future plans will be successful. An example of this would be understanding your counts of on warranty and off warranty devices to help you plan evergreening in the future. So you might plan to roll out a really advanced software pack with your teachers to use, or the newest smart notebook. However, if your machines are old and off warranty, it may not work as well. So you're able to, at a glance, really take a look and see the age and types of materials you have at hand in one place. The last is to reduce tech support costs, and this is something that comes up pretty regularly. So if you have a cart of netbooks, for example, your tech will come out and maintain those netbooks as long as you would like him to. However, if you're not using them and they're not being signed out, or the teachers aren't actually using those devices, your tech may not know that unless you tell them. So you may be paying some support costs for our devices that aren't actually being used very much. If that's the case, talking to your tech about, here's some devices we're not using and here's why. Can we change the device? How can we get to a place where these devices are more useful? Might be a really good conversation to have. So it's sort of, it's really important, because if you have devices you're not using in TAU, you're paying costs on those. So you want to make sure that what you're using and your TAU count match up really well. And if you have things you need to move out the door because they're not being used, you can go ahead and do that and remove that portion of your TAU. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be replaced with something, but you don't want to have unused devices kicking around for too long. So you are a key piece of that TAU. You're going to make sure that the device counts are accurate. If you're sending things off to recycling, your tech needs to know, you need to know, and you need to make those adjustments. You need to, again, let your tech know about underutilized tech. And the last is picking the right device for your site, and not picking the right device based just on features or cost of the actual individual device, but decisions about the ongoing costs associated with those devices over the next 3 to 5 years. Having that information in your back pocket helps you not only budget for this year's budget in the device, but the next sets of years when those costs continue to come in to maintain them. So we're going to talk a lot about that decision-making process. So just a quick true-false question here. It says, a printer in the school is not working properly and is left in place. The tech is not informed and no Orbit request is made. You are paying a monthly TAU fee for that printer, true or false. So if you are watching and you want to go ahead and pop into that in there and answer that question, go ahead. Seeing that maybe the slides are not advancing quite the same way that I thought they were, but that's okay. The answer to that is obviously true. The printer has failed, it's broken, the teacher doesn't tell anyone, it sits there, okay? And your tech is going to be assuming it's working. So that doesn't come out of Orbit and it's there. Now, if you let your tech know it's not working, he'll make arrangements for it to be taken away and a new printer to be purchased, or if it doesn't need to be purchased, remove it from that orbit in place with whoever's in charge of orbit in your school to make sure that that count is correct. So in talking to your teachers about making sure they let you know when things die and not just throw them in the back closet can be a really important one, because it might your tech isn't doing a device count every time they're in the building. They're doing it once or twice per year, or you can talk to them about it, but they don't know. And if they don't know that count, and you don't know, that count is going to be sitting there for a while. So TAU rates, which I pulled from Orbit, are the amount of money and the devices. And some things like infrastructure have a fixed support cost, so it's like a line item for the school, like server cost X. And it doesn't matter which server you have, it's server costs X, okay? WAS is 2121 an access point, and that's new, but that's also fixed. However, for devices and multimedia, the amount of support each device could require or does require on an ongoing basis is something that is different by device. So you can imagine, and we'll talk about it, but the amount your tech supports Chromebooks versus off-warranty laptops is very different. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some things people also don't know is when you get to a certain number of devices, usually around 30, there is a bit of a discount for volume on certain devices. So desktops are a great example because there is some efficiencies in volume of having the same image on multiple machines. It really does help your tech out. So we pass a little bit of those time savings on to you. And we'll look at that here in a second. So this is just a quick breakdown of desktops, laptops, Chrome, and Apple devices. So there is a split between warranty and off warranty. You'll notice that. That's because off warranty devices require the tech to do a lot more hands-on work if there's a problem. It doesn't go to warranty service, it goes to the tech to fix. So for on-warranty desktops and laptops, you're looking at $110 or $140 per year per device. So that's going to maintain all of your updates, security patches, the hardware itself if something is wrong, dealing with the warranty service. Your tech is the one that will put in that request through the store, which is also part of the support of this, and making sure that it's as quick and fast and up to date as it can be. The same goes for off warranty machines and CFS machines. But as machines become older and they start to break down a little bit more and they're off warranty, especially CFS machines, there's a lot more work to be done to make sure they're running as best as they can. So you'll notice that the costs go up. Chrome devices don't require too much support from the tech. It's basically the updates come out online. There's not an operating system per se that needs updating. If it does need updating, it's done through the cloud. And if there's a warranty issue, there's really nothing to fix on a Chromebook. They come back to the store and are sent off for a warranty. That's really all there is to it. And to be honest, Chromebooks have a pretty good rate of uptime. They don't really have too many issues with warranty issues and problems, just because they're Chromebooks. So because of that, you can see that the cost per year per Chromebook or Chrome base is really low, $28 per year per device. What you're really looking at here is the troubleshooting in the building, the making sure that any warranty claims go smoothly, and things like that, and just supporting it there. Apple devices, again, a little bit more. Apple iPads are a little bit more just due to the update process using configurator and things like that, and helping you make sure the right apps are on there. And MacBooks are also require quite a bit of updating and to ensure and reconfiguring to ensure they work with the district. So there is quite a bit of cost there. And you might be asking yourself, for $110 a year, what would you get? Well, how they calculate that is they actually look at how many minutes they think it's going to take the tech per year to make sure that each individual device works well. So you can see here that for a desktop, for example, on warranty, 64 minutes a year. And I know I've spent way more than 64 minutes working to make sure once on one computer at home to make sure it works right. So if you think about all of the computers in your building, it's based around 64 minutes of support. And it often takes a lot more than that, but it's the average. So one computer might take 2 hours, another computer might take no hours in a year, other than the automatic updates. So that's a really interesting way to look at it, is just the amount of time we're spending on things. And you can see there that as you get down to the Chromebook time, it's 17 minutes a year. And often that's the beginning of the year setup, looking at troubleshooting. We have had a few times where if the wireless drops and an update goes bad, the tech has to, refresh that Chromebook from a USB key, things like that. Same with iPads. There's not as much time there. It seems to be when they're collected to be worked on, but you can look at this and sort of see where the minutes are coming from. And you can see that even an on-warranty laptops do take a lot more time and care to make sure they're working well with the network. So that's why the costs are higher. This graphic provides us with a visual of the total cost of ownership of different devices. So you can see here, these are all the first four: workstations, laptops, iPads, and Chromebooks, are devices that are new and on warranty still. So you can see here that it's pretty expensive working its way across, and you can see the ratio of the hardware cost to the TAU. So the interesting thing with this is, as you can see, that the Chromebook costs, even with TAU over 3 years, are still a little bit less expensive than CFS machines, which is interesting because the CFS machines in here have been calculated at a hardware cost of 0. So what it is that if you think about over 3 years, so if you were to get a new CFS lab today, just in TAU costs, just in support costs over the next 3 years, it's more than if you had bought brand new Chromebooks today and used them for the next 3 years. So a lot of schools are starting to say, well, if that's the case, maybe CFS machines aren't the way to go. Maybe there's a way to work around. So just be aware of that, utility costs can come into those when you're determining what's the right device, if low cost, high value devices are your way. If everything you do on CFS machines right now, desktops, could be done on Chromebooks, then Chromebooks may be a really good choice for you, and you're not getting into older devices, you're still able to be using newer devices. So here, when deciding to replace an existing school lab, the most cost-effective choice over 3 years is to order 30 new computers for school's devices. True or false? This is a little bit of a trick question because it could be true or false depending on the application. If you require a lab of 30 new Windows desktops, it's pretty clear that in this graphic, CFS machines are much less expensive than brand new workstations. So it might be the most cost effective. However, you also have to calculate in uptime and quality. So if you get new to use CFS machines and you're expecting them to run the newest Adobe software, the experience may not be very good. So you need to think that through. The other thing is, if you actually look at the cost of Chrome bases, for example, Chrome base is a bit more money. Over 3 years, they might actually cost you in total a little bit more than CFS machines. But by being informed about these costs and about TAU costs, you'll be able to make an informed decision about the right device for you and your budget. So I think that's something you really need to consider when you're doing this. It's not just the device, but the total cost of ownership, because we know that that's a big issue for a lot of schools. So looking for the best bang for your buck is something I recommend to schools when I'm out working with them. So you might be saying, well, that's great that you have all this information, but where am I supposed to find it? And oddly enough, all of this information is currently available in Orbit. Now, it's not available in Orbit to the average teacher. It's going to be available to those leadership and administrators in your building that need access to the TAU calculator. So I'm going to actually hop over here into Orbit, into the TAU calculator, and we'll take a look here at how it works. All right, so here I am logged into Orbit, and looks pretty familiar as the task list, but you'll see here the TAU tab. And if I click on it, you'll see device counts, service charges, and school lists. So if I click on device counts, this is going to, for your school, it's going to, I have every school here, but you'll be able to see your school. And it's going to show you currently what you have assigned to your school, current count and the count updates. This is where you would update those device counts. However, if we go under here under service charges, there's you can look at the current, but what a lot of people don't do is come down here to the rate worksheet. So I'm just going to open up the TAU rate worksheet. I know it's probably a little small, so maybe we can do that, see how that works. And click submit. So what this is going to give you is a worksheet that isn't going to make changes to your TAU, but it is going to let you calculate. So for example, you can see here, as you scroll down, if you wanted to know how much is it going to cost me a year for, I need 15 new teacher workstations. I can go ahead in here and type in the number of devices I think I might want and click. Oh, maybe I don't need to click into a new window. And you'll see here now that these 15 machines cost this much per year, and your total cost is going to be over here. Okay, so that's your TAU cost for those devices, not the device cost, but the TAU cost. You'll see here, let's say I need 60 new desktops for 2 labs for my school. You'll begin to see the factoring. So you're actually seeing about, you're paying 91% of this rate. So you're actually seeing a volume discount. So you'll see the difference in your rate here and along with your total amount here, okay? You'll also see the savings, which is how much you're saving due to the factoring account. The other thing you can do here is if you're trying to make a decision between, let's say you're trying to make a decision between CFS machines or something else. Let's say I'm deciding between CFS workstations. I need 30 of them, and I can see that that's going to be just over $4,000, and maybe a Chrome base. So I'm going to go in here and also hit 30. So then you can start to see the comparison. So you can see this is a really good one. So after device costs are included, you're paying $42.47 for support for CFS donated workstations, and down here you're paying $822.95 for Chrome-based support. So that might make a big decision for you because you're saving, $3,500-ish a year. So if you're doing that, it might make sense to actually invest that money in the new hardware at the beginning. You'll also see down here some cart prices so that you can actually just throw them in there, and multimedia down below even farther. So for example, smartboards, warranty and under warranty, document cameras, those sorts of things. So what you can do is actually just play in here to get some quick ideas of exactly what each device is going to cost you. And at the bottom here, it'll show you the total TAU here. So you can look at the total costs for everything you're thinking of adding. So that's something to consider as a useful tool for you to ensure that it makes sense for you, the decisions that you're making. I don't want to pick on a school, so let's pop back up here to the top. And we'll look here under service. So for example, if I were to go in here, take a look, let's see if we can find a school that wouldn't mind. For example, district technology here. I don't want to show you that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go in there and do that, but it does show you exactly what you're paying and how you can update it. So as far as the presentation kind of goes, we're kind of getting close to the end. We've kind of gone through pretty quick because there have been one question all the way through, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So I'll wait a minute here for the live feed to catch up. If you have any questions about any of these tools, we can certainly go ahead and talk through them. You can also email any of the tips people or talk to your school tech about this. Certainly something that you may want to consider. The last piece, it is important. Don't just willy-nilly go make changes to your TAU without talking to your school tech, because just because you don't see it there, it may be out that it's being fixed, or maybe something can be fixed and it's more cost effective to keep it around. So this isn't really just get rid of the old and bring in the new always. It's about having that conversation. And last, if you make a change to your device count today, it won't take effect until the beginning of next billing cycle. It doesn't retroactively go back to the beginning of this month, because that wouldn't make sense because you've had support for that device this month. So all changes to TAU won't take effect to the following billing cycle. So just keep that in mind when you're making decisions as well. Again, if you have any questions, I will stay here for a little longer and see if any pop up. And if not, then we will go from there. Oh, hey Shane. Yeah, if you can only see the current, if you only have access to the worksheet, you may not actually have access to your school's Orbit numbers. So you may want to just talk to whoever has access to that in your building and make sure that you get the access that you need, because it might just be that you actually don't have access to your DU's TAU. Like live TAU. So just talk to whoever it is that makes decisions about who has access to that. It's usually your admin assistant or business administrator, depending on your school. So it looks like most people's questions have been answered. If you always have questions, feel free to contact your tech or one of your TIPS team members. I hope that this gave you kind of an idea about how to consider your tech as a utility as an advantage, something that you pay for and can utilize fully to support your school, and not as a mysterious thing that the tech takes care of. If sessions like these are of interest to you, feel free to put that right in your survey around the COP when it comes out. And other than that, we'll let you go. The recording will be up live as soon as we're done here. And I hope you all have fun going and wading through your tech as a utility information for your school or DU, or having those first conversations with your school technicians. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.